The U.S. is not serious about mending their relationship and advancing their relationship with Africa. I mean, like you mentioned, how much are they giving to Ukraine? They're giving more than $60 billion in 1 year to Ukraine, and you're talking about $55 billion over the course of 3 years for a continent that has 30 times more the population and is incredibly underdeveloped. It's resource rich, but it's incredibly underdeveloped. And at this point, right to this basic level of economic development on the continent is really a human rights issue. So you see people like the California Congressman Brad Sherman, pretending to care about certain type of human rights. What about the right to basic economic development? What about the right for women to be able to go to work and feed their kids, for them to have clean water, for them to have some level of food security? This is the way in which we need to change the way we talk about human rights, particularly those of us here in the West, including the United States. We pick and choose. We talk about, and this was discussed in the forum, the community forum that we had in DC ahead of the U.S. Africa Leaders Summit. The U.S. always wants to talk about civil and political rights, elections, and the way that they see elections should be done. But there are other basic rights that are just as important, like the right to water, the right to food, the right to, basic, decent living conditions. And the African diaspora, people that are from the continent, that have family on the continent, actually send way more in 1 year in remittances than the U.S. has committed in 3 years. So it looks like a bunch of PR. As an American, in some ways, I'm rooting for the U.S. to get this right. But each time, it just seems like they're doing the absolute minimum and then just hoping that it'll fix itself. I mean, there are places in Africa that are so critical to the U.S. If you look at the Democratic Republic of Congo, it is 70% of the cobalt in the world comes from there. And then I think a lot of the rest comes from China, right? So if something was to happen to the Congo, it would be an economic disaster in so many ways in many parts of the U.S. or the continent or the world, especially the U.S., right? And I was at one of the events at the U.S. Africa Leaders Summit where a man from the DRC asked one of the Congress people